Let's do 2 more questions before we wrap, and then do breakout sessions. If you want to go into more of this stuff, Sam's going to be around after the main event here, and then we'll go into our respective different areas. Does that sound good? Yes.
Hi, I'm Sahil. Hiring sales reps has always been a fun challenge. I've experimented with a variety of methodologies, variety of different processes, right? And the thing that's always been tough is trying to balance the fact that you want to screen properly, right, and make sure that they're a good fit, with the fact that there's a shitload of other companies that are trying to hire really good people, so you don't want to turn them off by having like a really extensive process through of interviewing. Having gone through the process previously, I've always been really annoyed when a company keeps making you do more and more things in order to because there's a process in place, and even if the interviews are going well, and you like as a sales rep, you have a gut feel, right? After 1 or 2 conversations, you can usually tell where this is going to go. And I feel like as a hiring manager, you also have a similar feel, right? But then there's massive churn in sales reps, right? And a lot of companies have the hire 5, fire 2 sort of model, right? So how do you balance that? I mean, you've built a variety of sales teams. I'd love your opinion.
I'm going to try and summarize the question, because I don't know if we picked it up on video. Hiring salespeople is a super fun challenge. It is something that takes a lot of cycles. You want to find the best sales reps possible. After a few conversations, you probably know whether or not you want to move forward with them. You don't want to stress them out with too much process, but you also want to find the best sales reps. How do you balance all of that with some of the more definitive models of hire 5, fire 3? And how do you balance all of that together to make a world-class sales team?
Good job. I think if you're hiring 5 to fire 2 or 3, this is where I agree with Aaron Ross, something's broken. This is just me, right? This is my opinion. Other people do it different. Kudos to them. I respect everyone. It's a big country, and we've got to be inclusive, especially in a difficult time. I don't have abnormally long. I think you have to hire people in the right number of people at the right time. I'm not also a big fan of hiring classes of 20. Maybe that's because I haven't worked at LinkedIn or Salesforce or that kind of infrastructure where you can do that. So I like hiring 2s, 3s, 4s at a time as opposed to 10 and 20 at a time. I don't have, and I always need to do this better. Again, this is just disclaimer. I'm probably wrong, but this is just how I do it, which is that I probably know within 5 minutes of sitting down with someone if I want to work with that person. I know that you're supposed to have a spreadsheet and qualities, and everybody's supposed to interview for different qualities, and then you give them a score, and then you give them a case study, and I get that. But the way I view hiring like rushing a fraternity as a probabilistic exercise, right? So you're going to make mistakes. I think if you feel like your mistake rate is 40 to 60%, then the product is not working, and that's the issue, or you have a bad business. So I think the turnover rate should probably be 15, 20, 25%, not 30, 40, 50%. I think you have to be mindful of the fact that firing people is very, very expensive. It's also bad for culture. I don't think a lot of people like to work at companies that view them as interchangeable parts. I wouldn't. So you have to, but I don't know that means that you have to be overly careful about every person you hire. I think you have to find a company that has a great product. You have to hire people with a certain profile. The profile I like, which I've said before, I like someone that has done something very, very difficult. I tend to ascribe and has failed and still has an optimistic point of view about the world. So what that tends to mean is people that played athletics at less than great schools. I don't mean great I just mean lower profile athletic schools. So people that played football or wrestled or tennis or lacrosse or swam or did diving. That's one category of person at smaller schools. The reason I like that is because they knew probably that they weren't going to become world famous. They weren't doing it for fame and glory. They were doing it because they love to be great at something. And it's also, if you're a marathoner or a triathlete, if you're a swimmer, you spend hours in the pool waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and you do that because you love that discipline. So I really, really like people that are competitive in that way. But it doesn't have to be athletics. One of the best sales leaders, I think she's in Dublin or London now, but she used to be in New York, Katie Sullivan from Yelp. She was an art history major. So you don't have to be a college athlete to be a great salesperson. I just think those other people, you have to find those people, and that's why it has to be probabilistic, because I'm not going to, if I just hired athletes, that would winnow the field too small. I don't know if that answers your question. I go on, do I like them? I guess I would say the other thing that, again, these things may be obvious. You got to be able to write in the modern era. You're going to write emails. You're going to communicate with people. If you can't write well, I don't think you're going to be successful. I think communication is what makes there are a couple key things that make great salespeople that are besides grit, competitiveness, intellectual curiosity. One of them is organization. You have to be organized. You can't manage a pipeline of 30 or 40 opportunities if you're not on it, especially for a mid-market enterprise sale. So what is your level of discipline around that organization? And then second is communication skills. What's the thank you letter or email that they send back? Does that did they customize it? Did they tailor it? I look for things like that because you have to be able to communicate with your prospects for any deal that's bigger than $2 or $3 grand.